Hi guys, welcome back to our video. Today's episode is going to be about raising Ace to be courageous.
Yeah, and Ace, you want to say hi though? Come on. I know you're
a
little fuster ball to start.
And you guys
video.
already know who we are, so.
Yeah. But as Miriam was saying, it's really important for us to raise Ace to be as courageous as possible.
Yes.
We don't want him to walk in unnecessary fear, to give in to his real fears,
right?
Or just to shrink when life tests him. And really, that's how we're defining courageous in this video. It's like facing your fears, have courage in that, and just going through life in general. And we think there's some deep points in this video, so watch out for those and watch with intention for sure.
Yes.
And I want to lead in with this video just saying that the ultimate form of courage is to be yourself.
Right.
Tied to what we talked about in the To Be Authentic video. When you're yourself, it doesn't matter the opinions out there, the ups or the downs, the pressure, you're yourself no matter what. That's courage. Yeah. Keep that in mind throughout the video.
Right.
And the first major thing that I want to address is don't diminish your child's courage. I think a lot of parents unintentionally do this, Miriam.
Yeah.
They don't even realize they're doing it.
Right.
Like a big part of that is creating fears in your child's head that don't exist for them.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you experience a fear, but that's not to say that they have that same fear.
Right.
You know, I was thinking like, you know, I didn't really like public speaking, saying like 4th grade doing a class presentation. So if Ace is doing something like that, I'm not going to say beforehand, like, you know, Ace, I had this fear and I overcame it.
Yeah.
Why? Because it would be pointless if you didn't present that fear to begin with.
Right.
Now, if he does present it, then you can share your fear, how you overcame it to normalize it. Mm-hmm. But don't do it before though. And the same thing with adversity too. We know courage is being yourself through adversity, being your best self. But it's more impactful when you share that story when he's going through that same thing maybe.
Yeah.
So like my health issue, for example, long story short, I'm not really going to talk about the story actually, but in 2013, almost lost all of my hearing. I showed courage through that. So when Ace encounters a health issue in his life, which everyone will, I might explain like my mindset during that time period.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what, I mean,
yeah, like
if he experiences anything, right?
Yeah, if he experienced racism, which I faced, I'm not going to tell him about it unless if he faced it and he comes to me and asks me about, you know, racism and what happened to him. Then I will explain what happened and how I overcome, you know, racism.
Yeah, and like in specific situations, of course.
Right.
And that's just what it's about. Like, there's a time and place for everything. To maximize the impact, don't do it beforehand. Do it when it's actually relevant in the child's life.
Yeah.
You know? And also, we were talking like, we want to limit fear tactics with Ace when disciplining him.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a potential there to, without intention, condition a child to look at their fear and not face it. You know, and we're still sorting out what our exact discipline strategy will be. Right. But one thing for sure is we're going to emphasize purpose. Like explaining purpose with Ace. That won't diminish courage. And that's tied in with our To Be Purposeful video too. And also, anytime we're talking with Ace, especially when he does something wrong, we're going to try to encourage rather than discourage.
Yeah.
Now, what is such an amazing thing that courage is in the actual word. I swear I didn't look this up. I just thought about it myself. I'm sure that it's out there though.
Yeah.
So like, for example, with Ace, he's really moving now. I mean, he's 10 and a half months. And there's like a little corner of our room, of our living area, where we don't want him to go into because there's not much room to play. He can grab things that he shouldn't grab.
Right.
So instead of discouraging him from going in that area, we're going to encourage him to be in the main area. Like, this is where the fun is. This is where the books are, your toys are at. You know, it might be a subconscious thing, but perhaps I was thinking when you discourage children too much, you're almost limiting their courage in general. You know, so that's something that we're going to keep in mind.
Yeah. And also, I feel like when you tell somebody no, no, no all the time, it just makes them want to do it.
Especially children.
Yeah.
For sure.
So we don't want to say, no, don't do that, Ace. We want to say, Ace, look, you can do this.
Yeah, like that's going to maximize his courage to do positive things.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And also, a part of courage, we said, is facing fears. But first, you got to differentiate dangers from fears, especially for younger children. Because ages 3 to 6, children can get this really confused. They might think like, Mom and Dad said face my fears, so, you know, I should do this, meaning like maybe run around a wet pool or cross the road without looking. Like that's a danger. We're not saying like be scared of it, but don't do it with something like that. Differentiate. A fear that we want him to face is something where if he faces it, a good result, a positive result is going to come from it. Like a fear of public speaking, or a fear of not being good enough, or maybe a fear of studying because he might be made fun of. Like overcome those sort of things. You know, and if we can nail this at an early age, man, that's going to pay dividends down the road.
Yeah.
Because even teenagers, they get it twisted sometimes, maybe doing stuff like illegal drugs or harmful drugs or risky sexual behavior. They may think like, I'm fearless, I have courage. It's like, no, like danger and fear are two separate things.
Right.
Yeah, and the next point that I want to mention too is going through a storm, you can show courage through that, but don't think it's just exclusive through a storm. Sometimes showing courage is avoiding the storm to begin with.
Right.
You know, and this is tied to our next video on toughness, when like you can be tough going through extreme adversity, like going to prison, homelessness, but sometimes toughness is making a decision or participating in an action where you don't get to that low point to begin with. The same thing with courage. Like you can use fear as a motivating tool to not get to a certain level or to avoid something.
Right.
Even speaking for myself with these videos, like my fear is not articulating things in the way that I want to for us, not for anyone else's sake, for us.
Yeah.
You know, so that fear of not being good enough in this video, especially since we're doing this in one shot, as you see, and most of the time, believe it or not, one take.
One take.
Yeah. So my fear of that leads me to preparing beforehand, so I have everything dialed in, so I'm on point.
Yeah.
Same thing with Ace. If he has a fear of having bad grades or not doing well at something, he's going to prepare beforehand to overcome that fear and show courage in doing so.
Yeah.
The late Kobe Bryant, you know how I like to mention him in these videos.
We love him.
1997, he shot four air balls in a 5-minute span in a playoff game. What did he do that night? He went back to the gym and practiced some more because he feared that happening again. He used that to propel him.
Right.
So using fear as a motivating tool, that's really powerful.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much like making fear your friend. You gotta like grow through fear. We talked about this in the confident video, putting him in uncomfortable situations where he's challenged. That's so important. And it's really like evaluating the productivity from not facing your fear too.
Right.
So with Ace, like in 4th grade, if he's gonna do a class presentation, or say he's deciding if he wants to participate in class or not, and he gives into that fear and he doesn't participate, we might ask him like, will the fear go away? And no, it's still gonna exist.
Right.
If you don't face it, if you don't attack it, it's still gonna be there. You're all right, big boy.
Right.
So that's something we want to really instill in him, like face your fears. And a part of this too is validating his fears too. Not validating him shrinking from the fears, but validating the fears. Because it's very tricky to convince a child that their fears don't exist.
Right.
You know? And I'll just mention one strategy. When he gets older, in a certain context, we may give him like whole well-rounded perspective of like, you know, if this happens, like, is it that bad? It's like, would it be that big of a deal? Like, life moves on.
Yeah.
But to a child, like, that doesn't work. Like, you have to meet them at their level. You gotta validate their fear. It exists for them, even if you don't understand it.
Yeah.
You know, instead of like dismissing it right away, use it as an opportunity to foster the courage in your child. You got your toys?
Yeah.
Use it as an opportunity. View fears as an opportunity.
Right.
So even if he says something ridiculous, which we know as adults is untrue, there's monsters under the bed.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking, like, what if we just say dismissing, like, come on, Ace, there are no monsters.
Yeah,
The
we
fear
won't
is
say that.
the fear is still gonna exist for him.
Right.
What we can do is say something like, you know, Ace, we know there isn't any monsters, but we respect that you think that. And guess what, Ace? Even if you see a monster, you're strong enough to overcome it.
Yeah.
You know who you are, Ace.
And tell the monster to go away.
Yeah. So that's like a big strategy in terms of facing fear.
Yeah.
Also, in terms of that strategy, being present, not thinking about the what ifs or like the hypotheticals in terms of fears, that helps a lot too. Stay in the present moment. Just breathe through it.
Right.
Just breathe through it. And honestly, Miriam, I was reminded of a quote when I was thinking about this from Mark Twain. The fear of death stems from the fear of life. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time.
Yeah.
Now that's a deep quote. We're not gonna like say that quote to Ace, but it's gonna be embodied in our parenting. Meaning, when Ace is living with purpose, being his authentic self, he's gonna understand at a certain point there is nothing to fear. It's like when you study for a test as hard as you possibly can. When you go into that classroom to take the test, the fear over time will go away. Like, it might not go away initially, but over time it will. And Ace needs to trust that process. You know? And like when the fears are there, okay, validate them. And we need to encourage Ace to even articulate his fears, right?
Yes.
Because if you articulate your fears, that's going to give you the mindset to overcome them. Talk about how you can overcome your fears. You know, another strategy, like we said in the To Be Confident video, if he's nervous, that's all right. If you have a fear, that's all right. Flip that into excitement. Flip those nerves into excitement. You know, we put the video title as To Be Courageous, not To Be Fearless. Because fears do exist, especially in a child's mind.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
Mwah.
Ace is being very fussy.
Yeah. I don't want to forget to kiss you as I'm going along with it. Yeah. And also, Ace needs to understand, his fears are his fears. He needs to walk alone at times. We've got his back. But too many parents, they almost like compensate for the child's fears and they do stuff for them.
Right.
Say if he has a public speaking issue, he doesn't want to talk on the phone to the pizza delivery person. We can't be making the call for him every time because eventually he's going to have to.
Yeah.
If he doesn't like talking at social gatherings, we're not going to speak for him. He's got to overcome that.
Yeah.
You know, and this reminds me of, this was like a couple years ago. I saw this 15-year-old girl scared to go on an escalator at a movie theater. And I was thinking like, come on. Like, the parents should have addressed that at age 5. Because the bruises are going to be rougher when they get older. I mean, I'm sure she was way more embarrassed at 15 than if she was 5.
Right.
You know? So that's like, let your child face their fears alone at an early age. That's really going to help as they get older. And Miriam, we talked about in this video, courage in facing fears and facing adversity in your life.
Yeah.
But don't forget that next part, doing what's right. That takes courage. And I want to end on this. If Ace sees someone getting bullied in school, I don't want him to give in to the fear of what people will think if he steps in.
Yeah.
You know, there's too many cowards in this world. So when everyone else steps down and basically is a punk, I want Ace to step up and rise to the occasion. Do things for the greater good. Do what's right in your heart.
Yeah.
That takes courage. You know, make calculated decisions for the greater good.
That's true.
Especially in these uncertain times, who knows what the world's going to be like 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah.
And we want Ace to be as courageous as he possibly can. And to you parents out there, I really hope you instill courage in your children too. Because the world needs as many courageous people as possible. And people in Ace's corner, he wants courageous people in his corner. And Ace will be that courageous person in other people's corner too.
Yes. So guys, thank you so much. That's it for this video. We really love that you guys are watching. Please don't forget to comment down below and smash that like button on YouTube, not when we post it somewhere else, but on YouTube. Actually sign in and you know, do that for us. Thank you so much. We love you guys. Mwah.
Say goodbye, Ace. Come on.
Say bye. Can you say bye, baby?
Say goodbye to the camera.
You can say bye. Okay. He doesn't want to say bye, but thank you guys so much for watching.
See you in a couple weeks. Take care.
All right.